this is going to be controversial, but I really do think parents need to be less selfish. And we got to understand that life is not about us, especially when we have kids. Life turns to be about them. And you got to think what's best for them. Is, whatever you're making a year worth more than the time that you have with your kids?
We started High Value for the people that find value in building your business, your family, and your faith without sacrificing any of the three. We feel like business, family, and faith go hand in hand, and you don't have to separate any of the three. In fact, to build anything of high value, they have to go together.
High Value.
Welcome to the High Value Podcast, where we talk about how to build your business, how to build your family, and how to build your faith without sacrificing any of the three. Today, we have a very, very special guest. This is Mariah Allen, my wife. Hey, mate.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good, a little bit.
A little bit.
That's all right. We'll just, again, have a casual conversation, and we'll talk about some things that I feel like really started this podcast and just the heart behind it, right? So the podcast was always about building business, building family, and building faith, because I feel like that's kind of what we're doing right now. Is we're right in the middle of, we have our cleaning business, we have our family, we have a growing family, we've got 2 kids, probably more on the way, and then we have our faith. We love the Lord, and so in all that, we're trying to build those simultaneously without losing any of the three. Let's start off with where that even came about. So when you and I got married, one of the things that we talked about was you staying home with the kids. That was always the biggest thing for us, I feel like, right?
Yeah, I always said from even before we met, I don't want to have to work and have kids. I just want to be with my kids.
Yeah. And I know that's a little bit unorthodox, and I feel like we can get a lot of different things, and I feel like our life so far has been unorthodox. But before you met me, you just said that you wanted to do that regardless. What about that was attractive to you? Why do you feel like that was important?
I always knew that from the time I was really little that I wanted to be a mom. It was the only thing I ever cared about. My mom even says, all I wanted to do is play with babies. Mm-hmm. All I wanted to do is take care of the babies of the friends who had babies. Like, I didn't care about playing with the other kids. I didn't care about anything else. So when I got to an age of thinking about, okay, who am I going to marry? All these things, obviously I couldn't predict who I was going to marry, but I always wanted to make sure that I made it very clear that, like, when we have kids, I do not want to have to work. Yeah. And I knew that I was willing to sacrifice that in certain ways if it was like, the person that I really loved and really wanted to marry wasn't going to be able to give me that, like, right off the bat. Sure. But that was always the hope. Yeah. And especially while our kids are really little. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of what happened, right? Like, initially when we got married, I worked in logistics for a fruit company, right? I mean, when we got married, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at that point, we didn't have any kids at that point, and so I couldn't really afford, like, if we had kids, I couldn't afford for you to be home at that point. And, we'll get into, again, you were a teacher and you had your master's, but slowly but surely, I guess we figured it out. And even then, like, it's interesting now that we have, like, a cleaning business, and that's what's been able to provide us that opportunity. But to your point, we didn't have that right away. And that's something that people should work towards, right? Do you think people are deterred from doing that because of money? Like, why do you think people don't stay at home?
I think people are scared of the unknown. I think people are scared to not know where money is coming from every month. Yeah. And I think our life has been extremely unorthodox, because when we had Mariah, it was January of 2023. And then by September, I had taken a leave of absence off my job. Yeah. And then in September or October, you quit working, doing loans.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, we opened up all the unknowns in one moment.
Right away. Yeah.
And so that was crazy and very unorthodox. But I think people's lives, ours is like the extreme of unorthodox.
Yes.
But I think people really, they're like, I need health insurance. I need to know how much money I'm getting paid every month. But I don't necessarily care if I get to be with our kids. I mean, but also I know and I have faith that you're going to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not really an area that I'm like scared about, is like, I just know Levonte's got that part. It's not my problem. It's not my problem, but it is my problem. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And even going back to that, like, you know, I always knew that was a thought of yours and you wanted to be at home with the kids. And I remember thinking early on when I was in logistics and I was a loan officer, and I always felt like I needed to provide and do that and provide that for you. And again, I saw the benefit of it. And especially marrying someone like you, I just knew that you were destined to be at home with our kids and raise our kids. And I think you even sold me on that. Like, I always wanted that to happen, but if it didn't happen, I think I would have been okay. For you, it's just like, look, like, I really believe this needs to happen for just the better of our family, right? And again, some people can support that with a W-2 job, and maybe that is getting a little bit more traditional to where, like, if they have this high-paying W-2 job, they're still working at 9, off of 5, and it's kind of an easier going. But we went the extreme of starting a business. I just feel like that was difficult as well. You know, like, that was like another thing that we did that was like, wait, what? Now you're starting a business?
From ground zero.
From ground zero, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember we know when I decided to jump was probably a super unorthodox time too, right? Because we had our first baby, and it was like, all right, well, we have the 3 months of leave. And in those 3 months, I was like, you know what? Like, which hard do I want? Like, it's either going to be hard, me trying to figure this out with loans and all that, or it's going to be hard to figure out the business aspect of things. And I just felt like I wanted the freedom. I wanted to build something, because that's something that I truly enjoyed. And I feel like it was the best way to provide what we wanted as a family.
And what you wanted to work for.
Yeah.
You wanted to work for yourself. Mm-hmm. And you be able to create that destiny and not somebody else.
Yeah.
And be in sales. Kind of, you're still in sales, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, yeah. And it's easier to sell, kind of, I mean, what I'm doing now. It's not just something, because I've been in different sales where I didn't really believe in it, you know, and it was fine. Now it's like something I have to do and I enjoy doing because I believe in it as well. Yeah. You know, going back to staying at home with the kids, again, we just talked about how, like, money is the biggest thing. And a lot of conversations that we have with people are around that. They're like, hey, well, you know, I either have this job or high paying job or the insurance, things like that. Why to you is that not a valid reason to give that up then, to be at home with the kids?
I feel like there's many reasons, but I just don't think, especially the young years, you're ever going to get back.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not worth making a paycheck versus not. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not going to get these years back. And so I just don't think, in my heart, and not everybody feels this way, but I don't think in my heart it's a valid reason to have somebody else raise my kids for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
I remember, because I was a teacher, obviously, and I remember standing in the gym when I was teaching PE, and I was just like, so you're telling me I'm going to have this baby, and I'm going to send this baby to daycare or somewhere else for me to come take care of somebody else's multiple kids for 7 hours, and then I'm going to go home and see my baby for 3 before they go to bed?
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And so I think really it was a gradual coming to reality of, am I going to really quit my job that I'm a teacher is getting paid with my master's degree? You know, I mean, I'm not making, $200,000 a year, but I'm also not making 20.
Right.
And so it was one of those things that obviously for us, it was very gradual. Like I didn't fully quit at first, but then we got pregnant with another baby.
Yep.
So then after that, it was like, well, the answer was kind of made for us, but it was really the answer that we always wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it too, because you have your master's and you were a teacher before you went home. I think about, like, again, I think business wise, it's opportunity cost, what's called.
Yeah.
And basically the opportunity is for you, like down the road, let's say, to make six figures, because that's what teachers make at the highest scale with their masters, is usually six figures pretty much everywhere, right? I mean,
yeah, unless you're at a really podunk school district somewhere.
Yeah. So for the most part, the opportunity cost is $100,000. Let's just use that number. And even that isn't worth the time that we would have with our kids. And
Not at all.
Not at all, right? And so I think, as parents, I know this is going to be controversial, but I really do think parents need to be less selfish. Yeah. And we got to understand that life is not about us, especially when we have kids. Life turns to be about them. And you got to think, what's best for them? Is it being in school full time? And again, I guess I'm not against school. I guess I'm against, like, early on stages. Like I couldn't imagine at 3 months, my baby's 3 months and now I have to, like, go to work. It's like, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, get back to my point. Is whatever you're making a year worth more than the time that you have with your kids, right? And again, I going back to, I know it's a controversial statement, but we have to think like that, because we have to be honest, because that's the impact that we have, those are decisions that we make, right? So yes, I get that you want to have this money, because usually it's like, oh, well, stability. There's so many more ways nowadays where you can make money. Like, money is the issue for stability, It's kind of hard sometimes, because we have friends that do the same thing, love them to death, but it's just hard to see some choices that they make, and I'm sure a lot of people make about going back to work, or, or we've seen it where, friends have gone back to work after they were staying home,
this is true.
That's an even tougher one.
This is true. Yeah. I think it's really, really hard for people to separate the money and the time with the children.
Yeah.
And I get the separation, but for me, I'm just like, it's not worth it to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So what has been your experience at home? Okay. So now that we've done that, we've chosen that, and now you've been at home for the year?
Fully at home since June, but.
Oh, true. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that my time being at home it's been gradual, because when I was done teaching full time at the high school, I worked part time at the college for a little while. And then since June, I've been home full time. And I feel like we, I should say, have seen a different dynamic in our family, because I still feel like when I was working part time, it was almost harder, because it was one of those things that I was still pretty much a full-time stay-at-home mom, but I also had this job on the side that I needed to kind of focus on.
Yeah.
And so that was hard, because I was only there for 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. So it was one of those things that I was still doing all of the stay-at-home with our kids full-time tasks while you're running two businesses. And that's hard too. And so it's one of those things that our life is just so unconventional, because you're running two businesses. I'm now at home with the kids full time, but I wasn't full time at home with them, but doing all the tasks of being full time at home with them while you're doing all the tasks of, like, needing to put food on the table, And so it was one of those things that it was hard it's just so much easier now that I'm done working.
Yeah.
Completely. I feel like I can focus on just that, and it's a lot less stress in both directions.
Yeah, it's been good though, and I feel like our kids have even felt the difference, right? Like, I think if you were, even the difference between when you were working part-time and now, I think they appreciate the attention more, and they appreciate spending more time with them, and they appreciate the one-on-one and learning. And I feel like our kids are even catching on to things quicker too.
Yeah.
Would you say so?
Yes, because they don't have a mom that's rushing them everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to eat your breakfast. I need to put your shoes on, blah, 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 blah. I'm just, in the mornings, we don't really have anywhere we have to be usually, unless we have an appointment or something. And it's like, they can be kids more. They don't, typically by the time I got home from work, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, it's lunchtime, it's nap time. Once you wake up from nap time, it's basically time to get ready for dinner and go to bed, you know? It wasn't really much of, we get to enjoy the time of actually being at home, because it was still, there was always something to do every day.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not saying it's bad to have something to do every day, but I'm just saying that they have a mom now that's a lot less rushed.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lot more like calm.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's kind of get into the weeds of this. And I feel like this is like the more practical stuff. We kind of gave an overview. The realness of this situation that we have is one of the struggles, I would say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is when a mom is at home having a life outside of her kids. Would you say that's probably one of the main things that come up in these conversations?
The hardest part.
Yeah. So what's that experience been for you? And maybe you might still be in the middle of it, but what has that been like for you, finding life outside of taking care of the kids every day?
Yeah, it's hard. And I think that that's also another big reason why people don't want to stay at home with their kids fully, because then they feel like they lose their identity in every other area of life.
Yeah.
It's hard, and I think it goes through phases, for sure. It goes through phases, definitely. Right now, I definitely honestly feel like I'm in a phase where I'm just like, I don't know what my life is like outside of taking care of the kids. It's a hard one right now, and it's a hard one for many reasons right now, I think. It's hard in the summer when you're working so much, because it's one of those things that it's like, it's all on me all the time, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's obviously part of our unconventional life. Like, it just goes through seasons. Like, the summer is so busy for us because of both of the businesses that we have. Plus, in the winter is a little more relaxed. And so it's one of those things that it's hard, especially once you get to the end of August. It's been a lot of months of this.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to find life outside of the kids sometimes, especially when it's go, go, go all the time.
Yeah.
But the kids and I aren't necessarily go, go, go all the time.
Right.
But the gym is really good for me. I can still take the kids with me, but I can put them in the kids' room and I can do something that's kind of just for myself, you know?
Yeah.
But I also always have to dial it back and tell myself it's not about me right now, you know? It's really hard. You always have to remember it's just not what it's about right now.
Yeah.
But there's moments where you feel like you can't even go to the bathroom by yourself, you know? So then there's moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go crazy today. But then, like, I'm good the next day, you know?
Yeah.
It is hard to find an identity outside of being home with the kids. But friendships with other moms that are at home or not at home with little kids the same age. My mom. Shout out to my mom, especially because she has summers off. It's like actually the biggest blessing ever, because she does need to retire, mom. But yeah, it's one of those things that I always find ways to occupy ourselves, but it is really hard because it's not really, you know, even when you try to do something outside of the kids, it's making food for the kids to go do that. It's preparing for who they're going to be with or what time. Again, like, another part of our unconventional life is we have no idea when you're going to be home sometimes. You know, it's one of those things that you, again, are not working in 8 to 5, coming home and then clocking off work. Yeah. And so I think people think that when they see entrepreneurs in their lives, it's only a sacrifice for the one working. And it is like, it's really hard both ways. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a common theme to where everyone that I've had on so far, or conversations that I've had even outside of this, the common theme is they could not do what they do if they did not have the correct wife, or a wife that truly gets it. And that's something that I'm, not to get all sappy here, but like, that's something that I'm like truly grateful for you, because like I couldn't do anything that I can do now without you. And I love that you just said, it's not about you. And I think we have the same mentality with what we're doing, because what you're doing, it takes a lot to do. And you're definitely providing for people, our kids. You're really sacrificing so much of what you could be doing. And I feel like I'm kind of doing the same, but we're still in this together. And there's a certain level of work that I have to take on in order to provide for the family. And again, I don't come home to a nagging wife. I don't come home to not having dinner on the table. I don't come home to someone that pretend like they care about my stories. I always have a ton of different stories and then what happened and this and that. And maybe you don't care about all of it, but like
I always make it look like I do.
You always make it look like you care. So that's all I need. I need someone to like ramble to. But again, it take like to your point, it's going to take two people that are completely dialed in to provide the way that the kids need provided for, and to have a stable home. And that's the whole point of this, is to just show the realities of the freedom that it has, right? Like the freedom of you being home with our kids get to enjoy freedom. And really the reality, like as an entrepreneur, you have the freedom to do things when you want to do it. Like we have a lot to do, but sometimes like it is nice to come home and just hang out for a bit and then have to come back to the shop at 11 p.m.
Yeah.
There was sleeping, and that freedom is worth it too. But back to my original point, I just want to thank you too for like just heeding that, like taking that sacrifice and being that for the kids and doing that for the kids and then doing that for me, because again, I think you're sacrificing not just for them, but you're sacrificing for me so that I could also chase something that I want to chase and build something that I want to build. And of course, my heart is in it to provide for you guys. Yeah. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for being a good wife.
Of course.
Let's get into some more of the weeds into it. How do we stay connected in our marriage when there's all this uncertainty? You're running around with kids, I'm running around with businesses. How do we still, after 4 years, I know it's like not a lot, but it is, to still have a solid marriage? What are some things that you think that we've done that has helped us?
Yeah, also hard.
It is.
Definitely, faith has to be in the forefront of it. For sure. That's the hardest part, I think, is when life gets busy, that's what goes first. And I think that's what we've always realized, is like, we can't let that slide, or else then we're going to slide apart from each other.
Yeah.
But I for sure think, just going back to our last point, is it would be impossible to do what both of us do if we weren't in it for the same reasons.
Yeah.
And I would say the biggest reason is for freedom for our family, for our children. We would have a much different dynamic right now if we didn't have kids and involved in all of this.
Yeah.
But keeping the one goal is our freedom for our family and being able to provide a life for our kids where they get their present parents, I think that's the biggest thing, because we can always look back at the busyness of life and how hard a day was, or how hard even like moments in our marriage have been, to look back and say, we are still doing this for the same reason. Like, we still have the same end goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that that's hard, because, there's phases of marriage. There's moments that it's hard, or we don't feel very connected, or XYZ, but it's still, at the end of the day, we can come back to each other and we can say, we still want this same exact thing. Yeah. It's just these moments have been hard.
Yeah.
You know, but for sure faith, and just knowing that we have the same goal in mind. And also in the little bit of time that we have just the two of us each day, we used to do a lot of TV watching and a lot of just like mindless things.
Yeah.
And we still need that sometimes to just chill, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, just trying to, you know, sit on the back porch and have a conversation, or have an hour of conversation with each other before we go do our separate things or whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
Making sure that the moments that we do have are meaningful most of the time, instead of let's just watch TV.
Yeah. Well, that's something I feel like we're working on too. Because
right now,
our whole lives right now are really, your life as kids. That's just where you are. My life is business. You know, we have those responsibilities, and those responsibilities are so great. So then I think us coming together and not talking about either of those things for an extended period of time has like been really good for us. And we can talk about anything. We talk about our faith. We can talk about what's going on outside of that. Like, what do we want to do? What have we not been doing that we should be doing? What, you know, I like that we bought like the little coloring books. We haven't done a lot lately. Our thing is like Uno. We play a lot of Uno.
Yeah, we do play a lot of Uno.
Yeah. And it's funny because we are both competitive, and like we make bets that are fun. And I feel like that's been helpful for us too. Again, and I feel like that could be a struggle too. And we'll get into this in a second, but there is this natural tension sometimes between the business oriented dad and like the stay at home mom. And sometimes there's collisions. And what I've noticed is sometimes the dad, or maybe it's the mom, doesn't matter, but whoever the business oriented person is finds that is the most important thing in their life right now. And then vice versa, the mom or the dad could be at home with the kids, and like that's the most important thing in their life. And because they're trying to come together and like talk about the most important things in their life, and they're separate, it creates tension. And it's like, well, you don't get it, you don't understand, you don't this, you don't that. And I think that's what we're trying to get rid of. Another thing I think that we do that we're trying to implement, and it's funny because of this podcast, but taking business principles and bringing them into our family. Right. So the reason business succeeds is because of its systems. And I feel like that's something that we're trying to implement now, is systems in our family. And that may naturally sound like it's robotic, but it's not. Anything that is efficient has a system to it. So we had the conversation probably a couple weeks ago about, I think I asked you, like, what are you struggling with, or what do you feel like you need help with? And you talked about bedtime. And we have two kids that go to bed around the same time. And you were just like, well, if we have when we have a third, you know, I can't put him to bed, her to bed, the other one to bed, and like they're not used to you and all this kind of stuff. It's gonna be chaotic. And so it was like, I remember saying like, all right, let's develop the system right now. Like, let's figure it out right now. And you're like, okay, let me think about it. I was like, no, right now. Like, right now. And so we came up with a system of like, okay, we're going to alternate. Like, I'm going to put one to bed, you're going to put one to bed. And the next day we switch. So therefore, like, both kids get both parents putting them to bed, so they're used to it. But also, I think that one-on-one time is valuable
with the kids.
Too. Yeah.
And people are probably think that that's kind of stupid, because it's like, you should have been putting one of the kids to bed. But people, they truly don't get that when you come home, your work doesn't stop.
No.
So it's just easier. Like, up until we started that system that truly only started a month and a half ago.
Just implemented it.
Up until then, it was like, I just did that because you have stuff that you have to do, you know? And it's not like you didn't come home to spend time with the kids, but it's just when it's bedtime, I can do that, and that's your time to do something else. So that maybe after the kids go to bed, we can actually hang out for a second, you know? No doubt. Well, speaking of that, how do we, let's just say how does the entrepreneur business owner support the stay-at-home mom? What can we do to make sure that we have a better relationship at home? Because I asked that because I know that we've spent time with that, and the efficiency of business, I feel like, improves
if we are solid at home.
Yes.
Right.
And being a better mom and parent
Yes.
improves if the marriage is better.
Ecosystem.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, with this podcast, I feel like it's going to be huge. So how does the entrepreneur business owner best support the stay-at-home mom?
Yeah. Okay. So going back to the question, or I guess your statement of it's hard because you feel like you're holding up life here and I'm holding up life here and there's no merge. There has to be a merge to a level because you have to understand what the other person's doing to a point. Mm-hmm. But there will also be a point where you will never understand what I do and I will never understand what you're doing.
Right.
And that's really hard because I know even just friends that I've talked to, that's the biggest point of contention in their relationship is he doesn't get it and she doesn't get it. Yeah. And I'm not going to lie and say I've never felt that way, and I'm sure you have I know you have too, you know what I mean? Yeah. But our lives and our realities are just so different, but there also has to be a level of coming together. And I honestly think that some of the best times is when I leave the kids with you for 3 hours and you understand what I'm doing for 3 hours. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if it's not how I would do it, but it's like, then you're like, oh my gosh, this is what you're doing all day. And it's not bad, but it's also like, on top of that, I'm doing the laundry. I'm getting dinner ready. I'm unloading the dishwasher, like all this stuff. But you don't you're not doing that all day at home. That's what I'm doing while I'm making sure that our kids aren't choking each other out, Literally. And so it's one of those things that there has to be some sort of level of understanding of what each one is doing. And so in your question of how do you support me, it's honestly like allowing me to speak about what's going on, but then also understand enough that I do need a break at some points, I think that the most toxic level of relationship, but also what will cause a lot of stress in marriage is that the parent that comes home and thinks that they were at work all day, so they don't have to be come home to work too. Because guess what? If you came home and I said, I've been doing this all day, I'm going to sit on the couch. That's not fair either, Right. And so there has to be a level of understanding of what each person is doing and how it is different, but taxing in a different way, No doubt. I mean, yeah, it's, and there's different phases of it too. We have a 2.5-year-old, we have a 1-year-old, and we're about to have another baby in 10 weeks. Yeah. We're going to have 3 under 3. I'm so tired. But so are you in a different way. And there just has to be understanding. Yeah. Yeah.
I think of 2 stories when you say that. The first was, I remember, I think you were at the gym and I had Micah and you were like, all right, can you get dinner for him? Can you change the diaper? Can you do X, Y, and Z? And then when I get home, I'll put him to bed. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. I could definitely do that. And so I remember I was feeding Micah, going about my business, and I hear the garage open. I'm like, bro, there's no way she's home already. We're just now eating. So I had an appreciation of this, the flow. I'm like, I am way slower than her. I'm like, oh, I'm killing it. I got the food warmed up. I'm doing it.
He's not choking.
And I was like, he's not choking. I'm like, bro, he has no change diaper. He is not he's not nothing. I look over no way. The second one, I think you were at a wedding.
Yeah.
And I had both kids. I had Mariah and Micah, and we were over at Oma's, our grandma's, and there's a pool there. And so our kids were all hanging out in the grass, and Micah starts bolting towards the pool. So I run over there real quick and grab him before he gets he jumps in the pool. And I turn around and I had a glass of wine over here. Our daughter was has in her hand about to drink. And I'm just oh, how does she do this? I'm about to turn our kids to alcohol. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But that opened my eyes of dude, that's some serious multitasking of, because then it's you're trying to fold laundry, you're trying to do laundry, you're trying to clean the house, you're trying to do this, they're making a mess and you're cleaning a mess. And so
I definitely get that. It does take a certain level of appreciation, because that opened my eyes to like, wow, what she's doing is pretty amazing. Like, not even pretty, it is amazing. And so, okay, so vice versa. So how does the stay-at-home mom best support the entrepreneur?
Again, my number one answer is going to be understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
And again, it's not one of those things where you go to work and you're working in sales, you're selling apples or something, and you come home and it's over.
Yeah.
And so understanding, the biggest thing is communication, but also I think, you are coming from a place of, you don't really have this like mentor that's showing you how to run this business, or this person that you acquired the business from. This was like from ground zero situation. And so I don't really get all of it. And would it be like the first thing that I'm interested in talking about constantly? No. But also, it's not just a monetary thing. It's also, you're learning how to build this from the ground up, and you've really taught yourself everything. You've watched YouTube and read books. And so it's one of those things that it's a lot more than just like, oh, you're like going to work and working hard and doing a good job. It's like, you have grown this business from ground zero. And I think understanding and even just being able to have conversations about, like, even sparking conversation, maybe not sparking conversation, but sparking ideas and thought about the decisions that you're making that you might not even think about because you don't have like a business partner or someone that's helping you talk through those things.
Yeah.
And I'm not really a business oriented person, but also I'm the one that hears the majority of the things that are going on,
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things, again, like, I think that it would be miserable for you to come home and me to be like, I don't really care what happened in your day to day,
Yeah.
I do care, obviously, but it's one of those things that it would be really, really hard to be just like, oh, work was good, I sold some apples, versus you have all of these things to juggle. You're one person.
Yeah. This was on fire, and this happened, and this happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We both have different hearts, and, you mentioned it earlier that I'm responsible to bring in money, and you're responsible to provide for our kids. I mean, you're kind of the leader of the home.
Yeah.
I'm the leader of the family, but you're the leader of the home. And those are two very difficult things. Like, you think about the responsibility of that. It's like, okay, if I don't provide enough money for us to live, we're not going to be able to eat. We're not going to be able, something.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of responsibility, and that really gets me going. And the same thing with you. It's like, you have the responsibility of the well-being of our kids in our home. Well, if that's not in order, that's a serious issue. If our home goes and our kids aren't safe or whatever it may be, that's even worse to me. But why do you think there is this friction then? How do you, let's say people are in the situation right now where their marriage is just not super connected, right? They're kind of off, and they're off doing different things. One person feels this way, one person feels that way. What do you think the beginning step is to resolving those issues?
Communication.
Okay. What do you communicate about?
I mean, I think both people have to come to the conversation with a heart of understanding that I'm not coming at you just to be mad at you.
Yeah.
But you have to come at the conversation like, I'm having this conversation with you because I want you to know where my heart is at, and I want you to know that I'm spent or whatever you want to say. And maybe this is how we can make it better. I mean, when you asked me about what is a struggle and what's going to be a struggle in the future when a third baby comes, it's one of those things that off the top of I'm like, I know what it is. I feel like from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
Yeah.
Whether you're home or not, because it's one of those things that all day the kids are used to, mommy, I want this, mommy, I need this, mommy, 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 you know? And so I have to communicate not in a way of you're not doing something, you know, but I need to communicate in a way of like, go ask daddy for this or go do like daddy can help you with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also communicate with you that I'm tired of being asked all the questions or whatever it is. And I just need you to maybe be more aware of that when you get home or something, you know?
Right.
But that conversation is going to go horribly if you're not willing to listen.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing is, I mean, good luck with this entrepreneur life situation if you guys are not going to be able to communicate about things and talk about what the other person could do better. Because, I mean, our conversations from 4 years ago until now, like, I mean, even before we were owning and running our own businesses, we've come a long way in being able to have conversations with each other that aren't like, I'm so mad at you after, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And part of that was like, it was my issue. And I think a lot of men in general, especially like the business owner men, like truly face that responsibility. And what happens is if we don't feel like we're doing a good job, it's like an insecurity of ours. And I remember growing up, again, that's where I struggled, where I grew up in a performance-based household, and I really only felt loved if I was performing, like in sports, and if I did well, you know, I received praise. If I didn't really feel like I got that. And so I remember thinking the same thing with being a dad. It was like, okay, or a husband first. And if I didn't feel like I was crushing it, or you were upset at something that I did, I feel super insecure. It's like, well, wait a minute, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Like, I've always heard this is how you do it. And I've always, you know, I'm doing this. How come you're not recognizing this? Then it like enhances when you're a dad. I mean, golly, you got like the responsibility of into like entire family. And I remember also thinking like, man, like that, I feel like I'm doing it right. I feel, you know, I'm doing this. I didn't do that. I stopped doing this. And this is what I was wanting to do. So with insecurity. And I feel like a lot of us men deal with the insecurity of performance. You know, we want to do well. We want to be recognized for doing well. And that includes in business, that includes in our family. And so I think us guys can take just a step back. And when we're having these conversations, that's what I had to do, and understand like it's not a personal thing. It's an efficiency thing. Yeah. That's why to me, like business helped me like save my life. Business saved my life because I now think a totally different way. And of course, like having you in that ecosystem, including business and faith, like all of those three together saved my life. And I truly think about that. And it helped me think of, you know, how does I think of efficiency? How do I think of, you know, making sure everyone is treated right? Again, like employees, but whether it's family, you know, I think of you as like, you know, a co-owner, right? Like if you, I know I've had bad partnerships and I know what has caused them, and I know it's communication. I know it's having different ideas. I know to be on different pages, and all of that I think of, and I learned it. And now I try to apply it to my family. Right. And I know, again, one of those things that other people can do is systems. Like the first thing we talked about, again, was just moving from, okay, this is, because it removes the guessing game. Yeah. I feel like that's one other thing, like that people think like, oh, well, I wish you would do that. I wish you would do this. It creates like this animosity towards each other. It's like, well, they can't read your mind. But if you have a system, then no one needs to think at all. If you just have a system, you don't need to think. You know exactly what each other are going to do, and you create efficiency within the family. Yeah.
It's hard sometimes, too, because we have a system all day at home that you're not a part of.
Not a part of, too, yeah.
So then when you are home one day, it's like, he doesn't know this system. Yeah. I can't expect you to know this system, you know? And so it's just takes communication. Again, it's not a normal life. It's not normal. Yeah. And it's hard for other people to understand, but it works for us and it's great for us. Today, Mariah, she was in her trampoline and I was getting ready in the bathroom. Yeah. And they were actually not wrestling with each other, making someone not be able to breathe for a second. And I was just listening to her. And she, in her hammock, in her trampoline, she's like, thank you, Jesus, for this wonderful day. And thank you for, and she started listing all her friends.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dang, like, that makes me cry.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like, that's one of those things that it's like, that no dollar amount matters.
Yeah.
None of it. Here I am crying.
No, it's so important. And I'm glad we're doing it the way we're doing it against the Orthodox. But I think it's good for the perspective. We could probably go on for 10 million hours, but I think your perspective of the stay-at-home mom is really good because you get to see the kids firsthand.
Yeah.
And you get to pour into the kids firsthand. And you get to support me in my endeavors and vice versa, where I love getting to provide for you guys. And I've always felt like, business is truly just a huge opportunity. There's just, versus just being at a job and working your way up and not having flexibility and always having to answer to things. I feel like that freedom of my ability to build and have relationships with people to then build, to be able to make more money, to then provide opportunity for you guys and generationally, right? I think that's part of what we're trying to do too. Because we can't lose sight of that too. Like, we're trying to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just about,
We're trying to make money.
Exactly.
And I'm not shy to say, like, I'm trying to make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the heart behind it is not for me. Levonte doesn't need to be great.
Yeah.
Levonte does not care about being great, but he needs to provide something great for the people that he loves.
Right.
It's simple. And so building a business that can do millions of dollars isn't so Levonte can his back can be patted. It's because I want to then build opportunities for other people to do the same thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
But I also want to make sure that you're taken care of, our kids are taken care of, our kids' kids are taken care of.
Yeah.
And generationally, there's less worries. And again, I'm big on teaching our kids how to work because look what we're doing. Like they're going to see it's a lot of work. Like it's not just easy. It's not just dad's going to build this business so we can make money and be rich and be all good. It's like, no, you've got to earn it too. Right. We're going to teach them the right things. And that's why I think part of that will come from you, because you get to see all that it takes. And so part of it will be you as they grow up in the home of learning like what it takes to endure something hard and build something great. What other advice would you give specifically to moms in regards to, let's say the husband wants to go out on this vision. They want to build this business. They want to be a content creator and they have a family. So there's a little bit of risk. What is your advice to the mom specifically?
I would say you have to be very selfless. You cannot be selfish about your time or what your husband is doing on his time off, his W-2 job. Like, you just have to be ready to face the reality of you have to be on 100% of the time, basically. That's what I would say is it's just one of those things that you have to be mentally prepared for it to be you and you a lot, And again, like what we've talked about, it's not going to be just you in the sense that I'm not saying it's just me and not you, but you know what I mean? Yep. It's not going to be like that forever, but in the inception of all of this, it's going to be. Yeah. And so it is hard with little kids. It is hard. But again, like everybody has their own hard and he's going to have his own hard too while he tries to figure out how am I going to do this so you can be at home with the kids. Yeah. And so I just think that not even just to moms, but everybody has to be on the same page. Yeah. If the only reason that you're doing this is monetary, I will say right now, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. It's not going to work because money is the root of all evil. And it's not like if it's only monetary, it's not going to work. The love of money. Yeah. It's not going to, you have to have a different goal. Yeah. If that's your only goal, you're going to be burnt out fast. Yeah. And you're going to end up hating each other.
Right. Yeah. You got to have the greater purpose. You got to have higher value.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you got to be doing it for them, not you.
Yep.
Okay. Again, we could go for hours, but let's call it. But I do think, again, with this and having you on, it's truly to like invite people into this. And I really want to be clear about, we want to connect with people. You talked about one of the things that is beneficial for you is to connect with moms, right? Whether your husband is a W-2 or business owner, whatever it is, like, I think it's just great to have a community of moms that get it and that value stuff like this, and vice versa for me. So where can they follow you on social media? What's your handle?
Mariah Karin Jones. Yeah, Mariah Karin Jones.
Yeah, I was trying to think. Yeah, it is. Okay. That's
And just Mariah Allen on Facebook.
Facebook, Mariah Allen. Instagram, Mariah K. Jones. Karin Jones.
Mariah Karin Jones.
Karin Jones, the whole thing. Okay. So go follow Mariah. Go connect with Mariah. She's great. She's a great mother. She's a great wife. I'm very grateful for her. She's doing something right, that's for sure. Babe, thank you for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Love you.
Love you too.
All right.